Hey everyone, Tyrone here, former taekwondo athlete training in the Australian team for 5 years, now on a break and helping all the other athletes get what they need. So without further ado, let's jump into the Q&A. I always start off my videos with Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything to do with online work, marketing, business, sponsorships, being an athlete, anything like that, drop it down in the comment section. There's no silly questions, and this is ultimately driving my content. I want it to be a Q&A based channel and do minimal guesswork when it comes to what people actually need and want me to focus on. So without further ado, let's get into it. But our first question here, it's the only question that's been left on the YouTube channel, but it's from Stacey. So thank you for the question, Stacey. Grimba, can you talk about how you knew it was the right time to take a break from the sport? On a smaller scale, deciding which comps were not worth the effort. It's a really good question, and I'm very excited to talk about this. Although, this is not to encourage anybody to leave the sport. I think taekwondo is brilliant, does amazing things. But I'm going to walk you through now exactly what my decision-making process was, and by no means was it easy. It was a very painful process for me to decide to take a break. So, what were the factors? Well, it was mainly a logical decision, although it had a lot of emotion within it. So it did, in the lead up, it felt like a breakup that was a long time coming. That kind of gut-wrenching feeling was there for a long time, over a year probably. But there were a few factors that I decided on that made it a lot easier to make the final decision. And the first one was I'd already broken through all the hardest times as an athlete. So I'd already moved cities, I'd joined the program, went over all the hurdles I needed to. I went from unfunded to getting some funding. I went from no job to getting the job in Melbourne. I went from no friends to having a social network there. So, all the hard times had kind of, the hardest times of being an athlete for me at the beginning were conquered. So that was something that I was proud of and was thinking about. So then I didn't feel like I was giving up. I felt like, this is probably me just moving on and having new priorities, okay? And I used to cringe at people who said that type of thing, but and I still do a little bit, but it's true, that's how it felt to me. Next point is I had clarity that I had not achieved my Olympic goal for the cycle. So I had my goal, my ultimate goal. I hadn't achieved it. I hadn't got my Olympic spot, and that was okay. It just gave me some closure, and it made me realize, if I want to really achieve this, I have to commit to another 4 years, another Olympic cycle. And that wasn't something I felt was right for me at the time. So that was a big deciding factor. The next thing I was thinking about was the training environment was not stimulating my mind and soul the way it used to. So, from the time I was a kid until, especially through my teenage years as well, and then when I first started the program, I had this really big burning fire in my belly for taekwondo and for all the possibilities, and that seemed to just kind of be dampened at the time, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what that was, but I ended up having to just accept it, because no matter what I was trying to do, it wasn't fixing it for me. And sometimes you just have to listen to your gut a little bit, and although I'm not a fan of that approach for the most part, that was definitely something that I was noticing in my training and in competitions. So and you have a lot of control over that in your mindset and your lifestyle, and how you look after yourself, and what you tell yourself, and the people you surround yourself with. So don't get me wrong, that's something that if you're struggling with it, you can deal with it. But for me, it was a big struggle, and along with all the other factors, it was a contributing point to my decision. So then, on top of that, I just kind of felt like I was missing out on other things I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to focus on business and entrepreneurship. My work was really exciting me and still is. Also just, spending more time with my friends and doing new things like traveling, but not for sport. And there's just having spare time to try out things, try new sports. I tried some Muay Thai, tried just going to the gym only for a year, and just enjoying having a more moderate training program. Things like that, it was just a time, I wanted a time to focus on new things. I've got dot point here, gut feeling. I touched a bit on that before, but I had a strong gut feeling that we're in the right path to take moving forward. It didn't align with my future goals. So when I was thinking about where I want to be in 10 years time, I was thinking about my career. I was thinking about the possibility of having children, my relationships, where do I want to be? How much money do I want? All of those things. And doing an Olympic cycle, I didn't feel like it would set me up very well for it. And I'm not saying that you can't do sport and be really successful in all those other areas. There's definitely some amazing people out there who are still doing sport, and there's single mothers out there doing sport. There's parents doing sport like at an elite level, and honestly I have no idea how they do it, but it's possible. So that's no excuse per se, but I wanted to give myself more room to prepare for new upcoming things in my life. So and then another factor was I wanted to break my habitual cycles and understand what value taekwondo brings in other parts of my life. So, you're praised a lot as an athlete with the discipline and just the perseverance and all of the things that it takes, all the grit it takes to do what you're doing. And so I wanted to put that to the test and see, does that apply really to other areas, to work, to just everything else? And I think it does. But the one big lesson I learned from this was there's habits and then there's discipline, and they're two very different things. So habitual cycles, as an athlete, you don't even think about it. You go to training, you just go through the motions, and it's amazing what you're doing. But it seemed even more amazing to people from the outside because they don't have that built-in habit of just going and doing it and getting it done. And because it's such a not draining, but energy intensive activity and so frequent, it really amazes people. It is amazing. But what you don't realize is when you leave sport and when you apply that somewhere else, you have to rebuild the habits, and that's where that discipline is really important. I think if you're in an elite sport and you're used to going to training all the time and it's a habit, believe it or not, you can actually lose some of that discipline that you had at the beginning, and you've got to use that discipline and rebuild it in new areas to then kickstart the habits. You actually, I think we have a better ability as athletes to enter habit cycles versus other people. Just that willpower, and not even willpower, but just the mindset of not overthinking it and just doing it. The doing mindset over the thinking and planning mindset, right? So finally, it felt right. It still does feel right. I'm really enjoying my break, getting lots of things done that I set out to do. It's not like I'm wasting the time. I'm doing, just really filled, and felt like it was the right decision. And when I actually announced that I was going to take a break to everybody, it felt like a lot of pressure at the time because you couldn't tell your coaches, your teammates, everyone who ever supported you for all those years, your family. And it's a big change, and it feels like a big deal. But when I told everybody, I actually felt relief. So anyway, that's how I made those decisions. There are a lot of contributing factors, and I don't regret it at all. But at the same time, I'm not encouraging anyone to leave sport. I think it's amazing, and you should push through as many challenges as you can and build your character and enjoy being an athlete. And it's an amazing thing to do. There you go. In terms of selecting competitions, though, there were different factors that I'd consider there. It would be, injuries was a very obvious factor. It's like if I have a broken foot, obviously I'm not gonna be going to a competition, or if I have rolled an ankle recently, or done like a medium sort of injury that I could compete but I'm not sure, then there'll be some strategic decisions made there, especially with the team, with the physio and everything, about how that's going to be structured. Budget and funding. So obviously you want to prioritize what's absolutely essential for your goals, number one, and put your budget and funding towards that. But then sometimes some of the programs I was part of they dictated some of the competitions that I was going to. So they only wanted to point their funding in a certain direction at certain competitions, and they would lead the way a little bit with that. So that was another factor as well. It's great to have that support, and you have to follow along sometimes. And then when it came to everything else, if I had a choice between going to a competition for points versus going to a qualification competition, it would depend on where I'm sitting. So if I was higher on the ladder and needed some points, then just a few extra points, and I'd go to opens because they're a little easier overall versus a really competitive one. If I was a lot lower ranked on the ladder but needed like a final chance to get qualified for something like the Grand Prix, then I'd go to the Grand Prix Challenge, which that's a good example of that. And that would be the focus. So, it'd be, how many points do I have? What do I need to go to a one-off qualification competition for qualifying for some like a bigger competition like Grand Prix or Worlds? So then also some of them, if they were within Australia, they were no-brainer, especially if there were ranking points involved. But even sometimes you go to a local one or Australian competition just for some experience and like to ease into the year before you go to some international competitions. Like I remember doing some competitions for that purpose as well. So it depends. That was a budget dependent thing as well. It was a bit more of a luxury to have an experience, a warm-up competition. So hopefully that answered that question well. There's another question here from someone else on Instagram. This was someone back from ATA, so here we go. It was about dieting. She was like, can you provide some dieting advice. And I'm going to just stay straight up. I shouldn't be giving dieting advice. Like, I was a heavyweight for one at the end. I did compete as a 74 fighter, so I did have to be a bit more strict. But the way I made weight is different to the way other people do it, and I would say it was less structured. So probably don't follow my advice. But here's what I know from what other people did. Low residue diet, and these are all like close to competition, by the way. So long-term strategy, you should always be looking at a nutritionist, looking at a professional, even for the short-term ones, especially because these can be more dangerous depending on how much you're cutting. So please don't take, I'm not giving out any advice, actually, I'm just telling you some methods that I've heard of. So for the short term, you've got low res diet, so it restricts foods that contribute to large amounts of residue or undigested material. So basically you're minimizing excess undigested food in your body, and that makes sure that you're going to be as light as possible for when you have to jump on the scale. And then there's water loading and cutting. So this was a method that I'd see people doing where they, I don't know how many weeks before, maybe 1 week before, I feel like it was multiple weeks, they would drink high volumes of water, maybe 5 liters plus. It would be dependent on a professionally recommended amount. And then what they do is just a couple of days before they have to weigh in, they stop this water intake or greatly reduce it. And then the body gets in this cycle of urinating all the time. And then when it stops, when you stop putting in water, it's still urinating constantly. And so you actually lose water weight that way. It takes a while for your body to adjust and realize, actually I don't have the same massive amounts of water as before. And so you'll eventually become dehydrated from it. That's one method I've seen used before for water cutting. And then finally, the most common way to cut those last little grams is sauna or a sweatsuit. I think sauna is better if you have access to one because you're not physically exerting yourself. The sweatsuit and sauna, you can combine them and get real sweaty, 5 to 10 to 15 minutes at a time, and then take a break. Then you get a towel and you get all the water off you to make room for more sweat to come up. Keep doing it. Make sure there's a scale there, and once you're on weight you can stop. So that's a really common one. If you don't have a sauna, then obviously you go, you have to do some kicks, you have to put on lots of layers of clothing and rug up and get really sweaty. But definitely don't recommend that very much because you're going to be physically exerting yourself a lot the day before you have to compete. That's not ideal. You'd rather be still and have a really hot room so you're not exerting yourself. Anyway, I hope that helps. Definitely not qualified to be giving specific advice on that one. So that's as much as I'll say. Question 3. I had a friend message me. Thank you, Tom. Tom Cleary is a dear friend of mine from Melbourne. I haven't seen in a long time, so I hope you're well. And just want to answer this one. His question was, how does online work and business help with being an athlete? It's a great question, very straightforward question, and I'll tell you some pointers here. So income whilst overseas and reducing financial opportunity cost of traveling to compete. So when you go and compete as an athlete, you'll be over there for weeks, if not over a month. And that's a long time to not be working, especially if you're starting off and you don't have funding. So if you have the ability to make money while you're over there, that's a really, really valuable thing to have. It's going to help you keep going. It's going to put you under less financial hardship. So that was the biggest one. That's why I started, really. It's a way to switch off from sport for a while as well. So when you're over there for a month in between trainings or competitions, you're going to need something else. And, some people bring video games. Some people like to just chat with their mates on the team. Others like to watch movies. But if you've got a way to engage yourself while you're not, while you're on break, if you're in between, you can just do some work, whether that's light work or something more serious. It doesn't matter. But you're just switching off from the sport. You're forgetting about anything that's stressful on that side of it, and you're just jumping into the deep work, whatever you're doing, and earning money. So it's a great way to spend your spare time, but also builds opportunities and skills so that you can take with you outside of the sport. And it's aligned with the rise of AI and online work as well. So a lot of online jobs now, you'll learn how to use the AI tools to do it more efficiently. Depending on what job you're doing, you're going to be recommended certain tools by employers, or you might want to explore that yourself to do the jobs more efficiently. And my belief is that AI is not going to take over all jobs, but mainly it's just going to change the way we work, and the people who are going to win are the ones that know how to use all the tools correctly. That's obviously not the only factor, but learning how to use AI and digital tools is a very handy skill in our time. Keeping the flexibility with you even after sport. So I'm on a trip now for the rest of the year overseas, and I'm able to do that because I can work online. So that's a really special thing to have, especially because I like my work that I'm doing. So that's another factor. work with others, and also value flexibility and support your cause. So, your employers likely started their online business, for the same reason, to have flexibility, to work with other people who also value that and want to use that time that's in a different way to the usual 9 to 5 in a physical location. It's really good because you can work at the times where you're most switched on. You can be flexible, you can work around your other commitments, and a lot of the time this is a community of people who really support that type of life and understand the value of flexibility. Okay, so that's not all online jobs, but if you're in-house marketing, or in my experience, I worked for a very cool company with a great team, and my team really got behind me when I was competing and supported me to work around it. So if you're good at building relationships, it's definitely a way to go. And then less stressing about taking leave or being unavailable. So if you've got flexible work, if you're working online and that's your main job while you're overseas, then you don't need to don't necessarily have to take the whole time off work and upset your employer. You can just be like, hey, my hours are going to be a bit different, a bit varied while I'm overseas. I might need to reduce my hours, or I might need to work on a different schedule, but I can still do the work. So it actually works better for the employers as well. If you're not competing overseas or traveling much in the sport, then that's also fine. But I still think this is something to look into, because again, if you decide to do that down the road, then you'd have the option. So thanks for the question, Tom. I think it's a good one, and hopefully that helps. Let's move on from the Q&A. So that's all the questions done. Let's talk about some interesting personal branding little activities that are going to be A, fun, B, easy, and 3, simple and effective. Really 4, isn't it? But anyway, we're going to start by talking about values. So let's go through this. And if you've ever done a personal branding workshop before, you've probably been through this exercise before, but it's really good to do it again. Maybe once a year or once every 2 years, whenever you can, just revisiting it, because things can change. Your values will change, you're always changing. So revisiting it and seeing what's changed is really important. And it's important not just for you and for your understanding yourself, but to articulate to others who you are, observe how your surrounding people environments work for or against these values that are always changing. And it also can help you create aligned goals and partnerships with your values as they change. So don't be afraid of things changing. That's totally normal, and a really important thing to note. So it's not set in stone. So you want to be thinking about your top 5 values and why. And this is all exercise that my boss recently went through, and I'm really grateful for that. She's an amazing woman that's really good at guiding these types of things. And this is how I went about it. Okay, so my example here is mine. This is what I came up with. So I actually ended up coming with 6 values: commitment, truth, wisdom, self-respect, adaptability, and fun. And I might just tell you a little bit about the process that I used to get to these. Basically what I did was I went online and typed in big list values. That's simple. Ultimate list of core values. Look, you can just pick anyone here and they're going to have a ton of suggestions for you. Okay, here you go. Alphabetically sorted as well. So I would just have a scan first, and I would just pick any out that sort of resonate with you. You might not even be able to put your finger on why. Okay, just write some down. You'll definitely know what's not aligned with you, and things that you think are more special or aligned with who you are. So write them down on a Google Doc, in your notes. I don't really care. And then what you're going to do is review the short list. So you might have 10 to 20. You might have less than that. And then you're going to start culling them. And so I want to show you an example of how I colored this list. So when it came to this one, commitment, one that was sort of really similar to me, but I wanted to distinguish between, was loyalty. And I found that the difference between loyalty and commitment was, commitment can be like a contract, right? You can define it more. You have a beginning and an end, and in between you can really define what that commitment is, what the scope of it is, right? Whereas loyalty is it seems more unconditional, and my general belief is that most things are conditional. So things do change, and if you're going to call yourself loyal, it might not be the most true thing. If you commit to something, you can define it more, right? So that's how I chose commitment over loyalty as one of my values. Let's think of another one. Fun was just an obvious standing out one to me. I've always just loved being around people and doing fun things, and always keeping something new in the mix. adaptability. I just think, with the common theme through all of these, I think, is I've demonstrated them in some way in my own life. So commitment to taekwondo. I was a truth seeker from a young age. When I was 7, I was not buying the whole Santa Claus myth. So I was asking my parents a lot about that. Santa's obviously real, and that's what I found out. But I was questioning that a lot from a kid, and that was a big sign to me. And that's something I remembered when I was choosing that one. Wisdom was wisdom is something that I've picked up along just a lot of the challenges that I faced trying to be an elite athlete, and just dealing with people and work, and just something that comes with living your life. So that's one I really enjoyed, and it's something I think you gain from hands-on experience a lot too, rather than just blindly following things. I think a lot of wisdom comes from acting things out and discovering for yourself. Self-respect is something I've acted out for work before. If I wasn't treated right in a job during my athlete career, I would not hesitate to move on and find something else. So anyway, that's what I was thinking, is that a lot of these ones I've demonstrated them before, and a lot of them I want to continue to demonstrate in the future. So if you're choosing based on how they resonate with you, it's probably something that you've done before. You're probably thinking of some situations where you've demonstrated these, or feel free to choose ones that you maybe don't demonstrate as much as you'd like to now, but that's something you want to work towards. That means you value that value, right? So that's how I go about this. And this is like the very base, and it's kind of an ambiguous place to start when it comes to personal branding, but you'll find that this branches out and refines into something where you're more clear on what you want out of sport, out of sponsorships, out of the people around you, everything. So just give that a go, and then let it sit with you and see if it changes over the next few weeks in your mind. Sit it in the back of your mind, and we can build on it in future videos. If you have any other questions about it, definitely drop them down. So that's step 1. Let's move on to another step. This is Instagram bio tips. So this is something really fun to work on your own time as well, because it's not a lot of writing. It's simple. You can really think about how it aligns with you. So step 1 for a really good Insta bio for athletes, I use a lot of Taekwondo athlete examples in here, is start with your core identity. So who are you as an athlete? Think about your disciplines. So your discipline is Taekwondo, easy. Your level, are you national team, black belt, Olympic pathway? You might be competing at state competitions at the moment, or just getting started. Doesn't matter, but you should include that in there and keep that in mind. Your experience, so how many years you've been training, what are your major achievements, and then something about your style or strength. What are you good at? Are you a brute force fighter that is really tough and that uses physicality? Are you a more strategic or crafty fighter that's sneaky, or you're a very flexible fighter? Are you a very tactical fighter? So think about those and just consider them. And once you've thought about all these things, try and put it all together in one sentence, like I've got here. So I'm a national level Taekwondo athlete, so that's the discipline and level. Known for my focus and fast footwork, so that's then your style or strength. And then it's got in the game for 10 years, so that's your experience. So you've combined all of those together into one sentence. So that's a great start. It's not going to be your bio, don't worry, but it's just a statement that you can take and then manipulate later. Step 2 of an awesome Insta bio is clarify your unique value or message. So what makes you different from other athletes, and what are you all about? Think about mindset, origin, why you started, any messages that you want to carry to other people through what you do. You could be asking your questions similar, like, do you represent resilience? I think I do, personally. I think all athletes do in a way. They have to be resilient. It's competition, right? Do you want to show discipline? Do you want to show what discipline can build? Yeah. Are you trying to inspire underrepresented groups? This is something that really works well in the marketing world. If you're representing a certain group of people, they're really going to get behind you, and it opens up a lot of opportunities with sponsorships as well. And do you want to make the sport more visible? So I think we all do. Questions like that are going to formulate something like, I want my journey to show young athletes that where you start doesn't limit how far you can go. And that's a really strong branding sentence right there that you can work with later. Step 3, add direction or vision. So where are you going? What are your goals? Are you going for Olympics? Are you going for world championships? Are you trying to become a national champion? Are you just doing it for fun? That's fine. Are you just doing it to get fit and healthy? Are you doing it to improve your cognitive skills? I don't know. It could be anything. So where am I headed and why does it matter? So you need to figure out where you're going, what you're aiming for, and you should let people know that so that they can know what to expect from you and what path you're taking. It brings a lot of clarity in your mission and journey, and ties everything together a little bit. So a common one is training for Paris 2028. It's specific and tells you you're going for the Olympics. So yeah, you might come up with this and it's like, I'm aiming for international gold or staying grounded in my values. Maybe that's a little bit vague. I think we could do a lot better, but that was a ChatGPT example. Personal branding tip number 4. Make room for sponsors and collaboration cues. So in every bio, you want to be prompting something. It's called a call to action. So do you want people to be emailing you? Do you want them to visit your website? Do you want them to direct message you on Instagram? So think about that. Only include one. It's really important to just include one. The most important one that's going to bring in the most likely desired result that you want. Okay. So we've got some examples down there, and then it tells you in which ways you're open for collaborations or communication. It makes it very easy for people. So then finally, choose a tone. So this is an interesting one. Think about who you are, what your message is, and what a good tone would be to match that, but also who are you and how do you feel inside about all of this? So do you want to sound bold, humble, focused, fun, serious, or inspiring? And, what's your gut feeling on that? You're going to represent that naturally is the best way to do it. So yeah, if it's aligned with you, it's going to be aligned with whatever sponsor you end up getting as well, naturally, right? So you don't want to be thinking too hard about this and forcing anything or creating some facade that isn't you. You just make it you. So humble warrior, so we're calm and grounded, could be a bold competitor, direct and strong language. I recommend doing that if you've got some strong results behind you. Inspiring underdog, so storytelling type thing where people are following the journey and you're going from bottom to top. Technical experts, so discipline, mastery, focus. So yeah, just decide on what kind of angle you want to take with this as well. That's a big part. It's called the brand voice. So good to consider. So when you're building your bio, you want to put all of these things together. So you would have had your statements from each of those and some notes written down, and now you're going to try and put it together. So I'm going to show who you are, what you stand for, where you're going, and a call to action or invite, right? So here are some examples. Actually, no, some final tips before the examples. Test and iterate. So honestly, I've been using ChatGPT. Use ChatGPT. Keep playing with it, keep prompting it until it comes up with something good. Steer it in the direction you want. If you don't feel comfortable with that, then don't. But it can make the process a lot quicker. That's my separate tip, not in my dot points. But yeah, try to look at multiple bios in your notes or in ChatGPT and see how they feel visually and emotionally. Really think about if someone else was reading this, what would they think about you? And do you like that? Ask people, if it aligns with you as well. Does this sound like me? What do you think if I put this on my Instagram profile? Do you think this represents me well? Then you might get some really great insights from those people. Ask family, friends, other teammates, whatever you need to do. And then come back with and refine as you grow. So as you get more results, or you might come up with some new interests, hobbies, directions. You might want to represent a different group of people. All these different growth things that happen over time, you can revisit this bio and make sure that it properly aligns, because you don't want to be contacted by potential sponsors that are looking at an old you rather than the current you, right? So here's some examples. Feel free to pause the video and read them for yourself, but you can see they're quite strong and compelling and unique. That's the main thing. A lot of people would just say taekwondo athlete and then maybe something else, or maybe just taekwondo athlete, or maybe nothing. I see a lot of that around. So having something like this is really important. What was the other thing I noticed? Yeah, most athlete bios will have the identity. So I'm a taekwondo athlete, and then they'll have an achievement, like I got a gold at this competition or something like that. But you want to be also saying what you're aiming for, what you stand for. So those are the most common missing things from bios that I've been seeing around, and the call to action, of course. So keep that in mind. Pause the video if you want to have a look at these examples. Bonus. All right. So assuming you've done these, and we'll do these soon, you've got your values, your 5 values in place. You've got your bio, which will actually, it would be really good for you to cross-check your values and your bio and see if they match. It's going to be a loose comparison, but if they're completely different, then you might want to revisit one of them and make sure that they match. So the final strategy is starting to get a bit more of a following on your Instagram. And the best way to do this is really simple. It takes about maybe 10 minutes every day. is go on to, don't know if I want to name them, probably not, but go on to some common taekwondo pages or sporting pages that people that you know follow. All the big ones, you'll already be friends with a lot of them or have people following you from them. But go and click follow on all of them on those pages over the next week. So just spend 10 minutes a day going follow on these pages. And you'll be surprised how many people follow you back because they're in the same community. They've probably seen you somewhere before, whether that's in a competition or online. And then you're just going to increase your following that way. And don't worry about the follow to following ratio, because that's not the most important thing with growing an audience. The most important thing is just who's following you, because all that brands want to know is how many eyes are on the content that you're posting and that you will share for the sponsor. Okay, so yeah, don't worry about that ratio. Just follow everyone on common pages that you know have fellow athletes or coaches or people who align with what you're standing for. Keep going until you followed all of them, and then find the next page and find the next page, and eventually you're going to really grow your audience that way. And then you can think about having a cull later of people who haven't followed you back, or maybe people who don't really align. But the main thing is just to get your numbers up, and that's going to help your posts get more reach. And yeah, they're going to be an engaged audience too, because as we've said, they're aligned. They're aligned with you. They're going to be following your content. They're going to discover you, and yeah, it's better for your sponsors that way as well. They're much more likely to follow you back in those spaces. Okay, so it's been a long video. I hope that's all been really helpful. Let me know with any more questions you got. The Q&A has been awesome. I want this channel to be driven by the Q&A, so please, I'd rather not plan the content. I'd rather just jump on, answer all your questions as well as I can, whether that's just advice or whether it's actually showing you physically how to do something. I'm thinking of doing a video sooner, maybe how to find potential sponsors and actually walking through the process, for example. Yeah, let's just see how it goes. But anything you want, I will do my best to provide it to you. Have a lovely day. Oh, and also just wanted to say one more thing. My previous videos, they didn't have timestamps, but I added them, so you'll be able to see exactly where the questions were asked in the videos. So you should be able to skip through a lot easier and find the parts that you want. Because with this kind of content, you just want to be skipping all the things that don't matter to you and taking all the gold. So we're going to be as efficient as possible, because I know as an athlete, you don't have all the time in the world. So thank you so much. See you in the next video, and stay cool. Bye.